The time is just gone 13 minutes past 8 a.m. and we kick off this morning with the big picture. And the big picture this morning focusing on Saudi Arabia and its involvement in Yemen. Now, many are saying that Saudi Arabia is losing this war in Yemen, and we've seen the results, we've seen the death, we've seen the destruction, the devastation. 7 years of carnage, 7 years of mayhem as a result of Saudi Arabia and its coalition and allies going into Yemen to unpack what these 7 years have actually meant. We joined on the line by the senior research fellow at Afrasid. We're talking with Ibrahim Thembisa Fakude. Ibrahim, assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh and welcome.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullah. Thanks for having me.
Yes, 7 years down the line, and we see Saudi Arabia, and many are saying that Saudi Arabia is actually losing this war. Now, let us just unpack what these 7 years have actually meant for a country like Saudi Arabia, and particularly when we're looking at Mohammed bin Salman, because he became the defense minister at that point in time, and we've seen what has happened, the result, the crisis in Yemen.
Well, first of all, Saudis went into this war under wrong pretexts, as the article tries to explain. They went in to try and demonstrate the prowess of Mohammed bin Salman as he was appointed as the defense minister of Saudi Arabia and later on became the crown prince. Um, Even though they claimed, of course, that they wanted to restore the internationally recognized government of Abdurrahman Mansur Hadi, we all know that the plan was not necessarily to do that, but it was just to show off the capability of Mohammed bin Salman as the new defense minister and the incoming crown prince. And that's what they tried to do. But in the meantime, what they've done is total destruction, displacement of millions of people, killing of millions of people, and really suffocating that country economically. And now we see the Saudis negotiating in terms of wanting to end this war. They have since been abandoned in the battlefield by the Emiratis and the Qataris. You remember the Emiratis pulled out, and the Qataris were also forced to pulled out after the blockade, which was led by Saudi Arabia, Egypt, Bahrainis, and the Emiratis in 2017. So Saudi Arabia finds itself at the moment alone in this war, and they have to foot the bill. It's very expensive to continue with this war, and now they are negotiating with the Houthis to find a way out. The 2 months truce that they've had expired, so now they've negotiated for the additional 2 months. So one hopes that there will be some sort of truce and stability returning to that country.
Yes, and also let's look at Mohammed bin Salman because at that point in time when he became defense minister, he needed to establish himself. He needed to try and make a name for himself, and this is exactly what he tried to prove to the world that he was acting in the interest of the Arabs, and he is one person that needs to be taken serious. In the region, considering where he is at this point in time as a crown prince, and basically taking the lead in Saudi Arabia, because we know his father is basically just at this point in time has taken the back seat, and the person very much under the radar, under the spotlight, has been Mohammed bin Salman himself.
Yes, that's what he was trying to do. But as he was trying to do that, it's created a lot of problems. Firstly, he went on that aggressive strategy of trying to modernize Saudi Arabia, opening it up to international tourism. I know, for example, for a fact that during the past months, we've had new systems where Muslim women, are now can go to the haram. It's a good thing without the mahram, which is a new establishment, but also is opened up that the Red Sea resort, where it's going to be known as the Bikini Resort, and is come up with concerts, musical concerts, and that has unfortunately invited a lot of backlash and criticism from Muslims around the world and some in Saudi Arabia to say that it was just too aggressive in terms of trying to modernize. Not only was it flexing his muscle in Yemen, but also coming up with these very ridiculous, to an extent, um, means of trying to modernize Saudi Arabia. And in the meantime, he's been messing up. And of course, the last straw was the murdering and dismembering of the body of Jamal Khashoggi in Istanbul, and that has created a lot of backlash for him and image problems. So he's struggling right now to come back, and I think he's hoping that the truce, which has invited a lot of international criticism in Yemen, will assist him regain some sort of respect which he has lost over the years since he became the crown prince and the defense minister.
Yes, and also what has been playing out with Iran, because the whole question of Arab nationalism versus Iran and who is the dominant force in the region has been playing out, and this is something that Mohammed bin Salman has basically sold to the Sunni Muslim world, that he is acting in the interests of Sunni Muslims right across the globe.
Yes, that's what the Saudis have always presented themselves as the custodians of the two harams in Makkah and Medina, and also as a custodian informally. I'm not quite sure who appointed them of Sunni Islam. So they see themselves as a custodian of Sunni Islam and protecting Islam from Shia expansionism. So that's what he's trying to do. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that Iran is playing a constructive role, particularly in the Middle East. Iran has been very destructive. That's my opinion. Iran has supported Bashar al-Assad, who the man who went on to kill millions of his people and displace millions of his people. He also used chemical weapons against his people. And this is Iran that has supported him. Iran also goes on to support Hezbollah in Lebanon, who has, of course, continued to fight Israel on behalf of the Palestinians. But Hezbollah, at the same time, has been a destabilizing factor within the politics of Lebanon. Having a parallel army much more powerful than a national army is a problem, and Hezbollah is supported by Iran. In Yemen, we see again the Shia or Iran expansionism in terms of supporting the Houthis. But the Houthis were fighting for their rights in the first place, and I think Iranians were very opportunistic in joining that. They had legitimate cause. So Iran expansionist program in the Middle East is controversial, and to some of us, particularly in Syria, I think they made a very wrong move, and they will be continually judged and regarded as being on the wrong side of history in terms of supporting the butcher of the Syrians in the form of Bashar al-Assad.
Yes, and also we know that the Saudis could not achieve this on their own, and this is the reason why, when we look at Yemen in particular, they drew the likes of the Emiratis, they drew the likes of Sudan and Egypt as part of their coalition when they had basically gone into Yemen, and also looking at the rest of the Muslim world in terms of how they have seen this, and we've seen how these countries, Saudi Arabia, we've seen the Emiratis as well, highly controversial in more respects than one. And not only because they formed this coalition against Yemen, but also when one looks at the relationship with a country like Israel, for instance, and we know what has happened with the normalization process, Ibrahim.
Yes, I mean, Saudi Arabia, even though they've not openly declared that they're going to normalize relations with Israel, but Saudi Arabia has worked very closely with Donald Trump and his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, in the past, mainly to push a certain conservative and very destructive foreign policy. And Mohammed bin Salman has been susceptible to that. He's been very close to Donald Trump, not much with Joe Biden, but his tenure during Donald Trump was extremely destructive in the region, particularly to the Qataris who were blockaded at the time. But Saudi Arabia is behind the Emiratis in terms of normalization of relation with Israel. We've known a lot of Saudi uh, uh, princes and Saudi politicians who visit Israel and then record certain messages in support of the state of Israel. And we know the relationship between Mohammed bin Salman and Mohammed bin Zayed of Emirates, who's no longer a crown prince, by the way, is now the Emir of the Emirates. So we know that this position that they have, particularly towards Israel, has been criticized and problematic for the Palestinians. But they continue anyway, notwithstanding that Israel continues to bombard the Palestinian, kill Palestinians, arrest and torture Palestinians. The latest incident of Shireen Abu Akleh, one of the Al Jazeera journalists that was killed, we had nothing from the Saudis, nor the Emiratis in condemnation, because, of course, they continue to support this kind of atrocities indirectly by normalizing relations with Israel.
Yes, Ibrahim, we're going to put you on hold. We're going to go for a quick ad break. We'll be back.
For 1,000 days of suffering, displacement, hunger, and intolerable insecurity. With your help, Islamic Relief can continue to stand alongside them. Never has your support been so important. Together, we can stand with the Syrian people. We can help them build a better future. Will you continue to stand with the people of Syria? Please, donate now.
Ah, the kitchen, the heart of the home, where memories are made and celebrated. Our go-to place for those freshly stacked pancakes early in the morning or for that late-night snack munchies. We are in there together, cooking, eating, and celebrating life together. Let's keep the kitchen a place that is shared by everyone, where we build stronger bonds and grow together. Sunfoil, Now We Cooking. Visit nowwecooking.co.za for recipes that everyone can help make.
Prices are high, jobs are scarce, and the coldest days are here. South Africans are facing a bleak winter amidst global economic turmoil and soaring food costs. Keeping warm is an added expense. Let's help South Africa stay warm. Sponsor a blanket at just 90 Rand. Donate online at alimdad.com or call 0861 786 243 for more information.
World-class financial services only at Sapphire Global, your financial partner. If you are looking for Islamic Sharia and ethical financial products, look no further. Sapphire Global offers a wide range of financial service offerings from short-term to life and investments. A full-service center with all financial requirements under one brand. Our highly skilled and experienced consultants are ready to help protect your financial future. Contact us on 041 001 0184 or visit our website on www.sapphireglobalfs.com. Sapphire Global is an authorized financial services provider.
As some look forward to the blessings and beauty of winter, the less fortunate in South Africa are preparing for the harsh realities that this season may bring. Africa Muslims agencies on the ground distributing blankets, clothing, and other essentials to thousands across the country. Sponsor a winter warmth pack for 280 Rand. Call Africa Muslims Agency now on 011 834 8685. Spread warmth this winter with Africa Muslims Agency.
Breaking stereotypes, moving boundaries, joining hands. Salam Media. Humanity sets the agenda.
At 8:26 a.m., we continue this morning's big picture interview with Ibrahim Thembisa Fakude, looking at Saudi Arabia and 7 years later, what this has meant for the country, and it is clear that they have been losing the war. Now, Ibrahim, just to continue, and knowing Yemen, and Yemen has always held a very special place in Islam, in the heart of our Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam as well. In fact, there are close to 40 ahadith that actually relate to Yemen and how special Yemen is. And I'm sure, looking at ordinary Saudis, looking at the people of Saudi Arabia, they've got a history as far as Yemen is concerned. Many of them, and as this article alludes to as well, calling it the land of their ancestors, and seeing what has happened, the carnage that has unfolded. I'm sure that ordinary Saudis obviously are not happy with what they've seen taking place in the last 7 years.
No, certainly not. I mean, Yemen is in Islamic history is extremely important. If you remember the story of Abraha, the man who led a contingent army and elephants to try and redirect Hajj from Makkah into Sana'a, and that's one of the great stories in Islamic history. So, from that perspective, it's historical. Even pre-Islam, before the time of Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, Yemen has always been very, very historical because of where it sits. If you look at the geographical position of Yemen, it's well positioned between the Indian Ocean and the Red Sea and a little bit of the Gulf. So it's a very, very key and strategic place, particularly in the Khaliji, in the Gulf, where most Arabs come from. And as you said, most Arabs, particularly the Khaliji Arabs, that is the Qatari, Saudis, Kuwaitis, and others, including some Iraqis, by the way, they claim Yemen as their ancestral land because of where most of their forefathers came from before they migrated into different parts of the Arab world. Osama bin Laden, as I said, Osama bin Laden's grandfather came from Yemen. And many Saudis regard Yemen as their ancestral land. So they will never allow it to be Shia dominated. And if you remember, Yemen was also, by the way, separated into two. You had the southern part of Yemen and the northern part of Yemen. And the Saudis, again, want to maintain that clarity. One. Two is Saudi Arabia won't allow, again, to have a Shia expansionism next door. You know that they're currently struggling with their own Shia challenge, in inverted commas, in the southern part of Saudi Arabia. You know, Sheikh Namr al-Nimr, who was killed by the Saudi government because of his Shia or Iranian closeness and alliance. So Saudi is struggling with Shia expansionism within its own borders. So for them to sit and allow the expansion of Shia in Yemen is something that Mohammed bin Salman went to sell, not only to his close friend in the Gulf or the GCC at the time, but he also sold the idea to other Sunni-dominated countries, particularly countries such as Egypt, Pakistan, and others, to say, we have to stop the Iran on its tracks as it continues to try and expand their influence within the region.
Yes, and he not only sold his agenda and his ambitions to the Muslim world, he sold it to the rest of the world. He sold it to the likes of the United States of America, Britain, and the Western world in general. And this obviously put him on a pedestal for a period of time. But at the same time, we see this huge outpour or outcry of international criticism against him.
Yes, because of the indiscriminate manner in which this war in Yemen has been conducted. Millions of people, by the way, not only the Houthis, but people in Sana'a, most of whom are Sunni Muslims, were killed and displaced and continue facing serious challenges in that country because of this war. So it has been a destructive war, and it has also created mayhem in that part of the world, leading to millions of Yemenis to go to other countries as refugees, and also as internally displaced people. As it was the case, Yemen was hosting a number of Muslims, particularly those coming from the Horn of Africa, Ethiopians, for an example, the guys from Eritrea who used to be in Yemen now had to compete for basic services with the Yemenis who were internally displaced, and that created another challenge for the refugees who are running from other atrocities and conditions around the region, including the Horn of Africa. So it's been a disaster, but also it's an image disaster for Mohammed bin Salman. I doubt if he will survive this. I've just been watching CNN this morning. There is that LIV, which is Live golf tournament sponsored by Mohammed Salman, and there is a huge uproar at the moment criticizing those who are participating in that tournament, because Saudi Arabia is now big in terms of inviting sport tournaments as part of improving their image around the world. And people are remembering, and gladly so, that the Americans remember that the current Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, who is indicted in the killing and the murdering, the killing and dismembering of the body of Jamal Khashoggi, was, by the way, a dual citizen of both the United States and Saudi Arabia.
Is there any way Mohammed bin Salman can actually save face after we've seen what has happened, and with Yemen, you mentioned Khashoggi, and also many of the other issues that where we see fingers that have been pointed against him.
Can you please repeat that? I missed that.
I said, is Mohammed bin Salman able to save a face and restore some dignity after all that he has done?
Well, it will be very difficult for him to really say face no, salvage whatever it is that it has. People will always remember this, that he was or is involved in one, creating a situation in a holy land that will be similar to other places in Las Vegas by going and sanctioning that bikini beach in a place that is regarded as holy by many Muslims around the world. Basically, a smack in the face of Muslims to say, I'll do as I please. One. Two is his continuation of the atrocities and that war in Yemen, which has been disastrous, continues unabated. But also is now opening up Makkah and Medina in terms of making it the tourist spot. I mean, there's so many places that you can open up in Saudi Arabia and other places in the world. Why do you want to contaminate a holy place and create unnecessary controversy for Muslims who regard this very small, tiny little place, by the way, that you can still protect without compromising your tourism ambition and goals? Why do you want to open it up for people to come in? Because it's only going to create problems, it's only going to create friction. So that's some of the things that he's doing, even though he might be pleasing a younger generation or citizens of Saudi Arabia. We're told that he's quite popular within there, but globally, he is putting himself once again deeper and deeper into trouble. But I think the last straw was that death of Jamal Khashoggi. I doubt if he will ever survive that in terms of cleansing his image. But, we were also disappointed by Tayyip Erdogan, who promised that he was going to take this on and ensure that justice prevailed. But we saw that a couple of weeks ago, the Turkish took that file and gave it to the Saudis for them to persecute the case. So you are basically giving these people the same people that are accused and confirmed to have killed the same human being are now responsible of finding justice for the family and the fiancé of Jamal Khashoggi, which is a problem. So Turks have also disappointed all of us. But you're also beginning to see how Mohammed bin Salman is doing his deep pockets in terms of influencing the politics in the region.
Well, Ibrahim, always a pleasure talking to you, and we do appreciate you taking time out and talking to us on these big picture stories. And we wish you well, inshallah. We wish you safety, and looking forward to further engagements with you, inshallah.
Shukran, shukran. Assalamu alaikum.
Walaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ibrahim Thembisa Fakude joining us this morning on the big picture regarding Saudi Arabia and losing this war in Yemen. The time is just gone 8:35. We're going to go for a break. We come back. We'll be joined by the chairperson of Setoa. We're talking about the latest developments as far as Western pilgrims are concerned, are no longer required to book via Hajj operators. Let's see what these developments mean.